Imagine trying to survive without a jacket, shoes, or even a simple blanket. For most of human history, that wasn't imagination. It was reality. Long before fabric mills, fashion brands, or sewing machines existed, our ancestors had to solve one of the greatest survival challenges they ever faced: protecting their bodies from the environment. One of the biggest puzzles in archaeology is figuring out when people first began wearing clothing. Unlike stone tools or bones, garments rarely survive for thousands of years. Leather decays, plant fibers rot, and woven fabrics disappear almost completely. That means scientists have had to become detectives, piecing together clues from unexpected places, including ancient tools, animal remains, and even tiny parasites. Our story begins long before recorded history. Modern humans gradually lost most of their body hair roughly 1 million years ago. While that seems like a disadvantage today, it likely gave early humans a remarkable advantage in the hot African climate. Less body hair allowed sweat to evaporate more efficiently, helping them stay cool during long-distance travel and endurance hunting. Instead of relying on speed, they could pursue prey until the animal became exhausted from overheating. Of course, every evolutionary advantage creates a new challenge. Once humans became relatively hairless, staying warm became much harder. Even in Africa, temperatures can drop significantly at night or in higher elevations. As human groups expanded into unfamiliar landscapes, exposure to cold became a serious threat. Without insulation, freezing temperatures could quickly become deadly. At some point, our ancestors recognized that the hides of hunted animals offered more than food. Fur could trap heat, shield the body from wind, and dramatically improve the chances of survival. Exactly when this realization became common remains uncertain, but archaeology provides intriguing hints. Stone scraping tools discovered at several ancient sites suggest that human ancestors were deliberately cleaning animal skins hundreds of thousands of years ago. Removing fat and tissue from a hide is an important step if you want to preserve it, rather than let it decay. Although these tools cannot prove people were making clothing, they demonstrate a growing understanding of how animal skins could be prepared for practical use. It's fascinating to think that many major breakthroughs begin with simple observations. Innovation doesn't always arrive as a dramatic invention. Sometimes it starts with someone asking, "Could this work differently?" Small discovery, repeated across generations, eventually transform entire civilizations. If you've ever been surprised that a simple idea changed history, comment 1. Additional evidence comes from the remains of large animals such as bears. Careful cut marks found on ancient bones indicate that hunters sometimes removed the skin in a way that preserved the entire pelt rather than simply carving away meat. That kind of precision suggests planning, patience, and skill. These weren't random acts of survival. They reflected deliberate craftsmanship. Researchers believe that by around 300,000 years ago, some human relatives were probably wrapping themselves in animal hides. These coverings were likely simple drapes rather than tailored garments, but they represented an important technological step. Even a basic hide thrown over the shoulders could mean the difference between surviving a harsh season and succumbing to the cold. One of the most unexpected clues about clothing doesn't come from archaeology at all. It comes from lice. Humans host two closely related kinds of lice. Head lice spend their entire lives among hair. Body lice, however, depend on clothing. They hide in the folds and seams of garments and only move onto human skin briefly to feed. Without clothing, body lice simply cannot maintain their lifestyle. By comparing the DNA of these parasites, scientists estimated when body lice split from their head louse ancestors. Their findings suggest that humans began wearing clothing regularly around 170,000 years ago. While earlier estimates varied, this remains one of the strongest biological clues available. Think about how remarkable that is. A tiny parasite, something almost everyone would rather forget exists, has preserved a chapter of human history that fabric itself could not. Sometimes nature stores its records in the most unexpected places. If that makes you appreciate how science connects unlikely clues, comment 2. Interestingly, this widespread use of clothing appears to have started before modern humans spread into the coldest regions outside Africa. That suggests clothing may have served multiple purposes from the very beginning. Besides warmth, garments could have protected against insects, thorny vegetation, sunlight, or even helped express identity within a community. The desire to communicate something about ourselves through appearance may be far older than cities, kingdoms, or written language. Long before mirrors existed, people may already have been choosing how they wanted others to see them. Here's the continuation in the same original educational style. Another group that deserves far more recognition is the Neanderthals. Popular culture has often portrayed them as primitive and unintelligent, but decades of archaeological discoveries tell a much richer story. They were skilled hunters, capable toolmakers, and remarkably adaptable people who survived some of the harshest climates humans have ever faced. Neanderthals occupied much of Europe and Western Asia for hundreds of thousands of years, enduring repeated ice ages that would challenge even modern outdoor survival experts. Living in such environments would have been nearly impossible without effective protection from the cold. Researchers estimate that they likely covered most of their bodies during severe winters, making clothing an essential technology rather than a luxury. Their stone tools reveal repeated use in processing animal hides, and microscopic wear patterns suggest leatherworking was a regular activity. Some evidence even indicates they treated hides to make them softer and more durable. Instead of wrapping themselves in freshly skinned pelts, they were improving the material so it would last longer and perform better. Survival often depends on refining ordinary ideas into reliable solutions. The difference between simply using a resource and mastering it can shape the future of an entire species. Human history is filled with these quiet improvements that rarely make headlines but change everything. If you think practical skills deserve more appreciation, comment 3. As modern Homo sapiens continued developing new technologies, clothing became increasingly sophisticated. One invention, in particular, transformed everything: the eyed sewing needle. Unlike a simple pointed tool used to punch holes, an eyed needle allowed thread to pass through the material itself. That made it possible to stitch multiple pieces together into garments that fit the body closely. Instead of loose animal skins, people could create sleeves, fitted coverings, and layered clothing that trapped heat much more effectively. Archaeologists have discovered some of the earliest eyed needles dating back roughly 40,000 years in northern Asia, with similar examples appearing across other regions over the following millennia. These delicate tools required extraordinary craftsmanship. Producing one meant carefully shaping bone or ivory and drilling a tiny opening without breaking the material. An impressive achievement using only prehistoric technology. A fitted garment offered far better protection than a simple hide draped over the shoulders. During the coldest phases of the Ice Age, that improvement could easily determine whether a family survived another winter. Burial sites provide another remarkable window into prehistoric clothing. Although the garments themselves have long since decomposed, decorative beads often remain exactly where they were sewn. By studying their arrangement, archaeologists can reconstruct the outlines of ancient hoods, sleeves, trousers, and other pieces of clothing that vanished tens of thousands of years ago. Some burials contain thousands of carefully crafted beads attached to a single outfit. Producing and sewing so many decorations would have required enormous amounts of time and patience. That tells us these garments represented much more than protection from the weather. They reflected care, craftsmanship, and perhaps social identity. People have always invested meaning in what they wear. Clothing protects the body, but it also tells stories about family, culture, creativity, and belonging. That instinct connects us with people who lived tens of thousands of years before the first cities were ever built. Long before tailored clothing appeared, humans were already experimenting with simpler construction techniques. Pointed bone tools dating back more than 70,000 years suggest that hides were being pierced and fastened together. Even without modern needles, these early innovations allowed people to shape garments instead of merely draping them. Decorative shell beads found across parts of Africa dating back well over 100,000 years reveal another fascinating aspect of early human life. Ornamentation suggests people cared about appearance, group identity, and perhaps social status. Clothing was beginning to serve both practical and symbolic purposes. This changes the way we picture prehistoric societies. Rather than isolated individuals focused only on survival, they likely lived within complex communities where appearance, reputation, and shared traditions already mattered. The roots of fashion may be far older than agriculture, writing, or organized civilization itself. When we look at our closets today, it's easy to see clothing as something ordinary. Yet every jacket, shirt, or pair of shoes belongs to a chain of innovation, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. Countless generations experimented, failed, adapted, and improved until wearing clothes became second nature. The story of clothing is ultimately the story of human ingenuity. Faced with changing climates and unfamiliar environments, our ancestors refused to accept their limitations. Instead, they transformed the natural world into tools for survival and, eventually, into expressions of identity and creativity. The next time you put on your favorite outfit, it's worth remembering that you're participating in one of humanity's oldest traditions, a tradition born not in factories or fashion houses, but in the determination to survive, adapt, and keep moving forward.